to be talking to you, belladonna. Should've taken a break, not an Oxford comma. Take what I want when I wanna, and I want you.
Back again. So I'm back with yet another tag video. I know, I'm so happy. People have started tagging me again in stuff. You all know how much I love doing tags on this channel. Like, I just love them. And now I'm here to do the Book Snob Tag. I was tagged by Katie over at Kit Kat Can Read. I'm going to leave a video down in the description bar below. Please check it out. She really did give so many detailed, in-depth answers to the questions, and it just inspired me to think twice about my answers I'm giving for each of these questions, because her video is so good. The original tag was created by Tia of Tia and All the Books. I'm going to leave the original tag video in the description bar as well, so you can please check that out as well. It's so much fun. I love it. I think I'm a little bit of a book snob, so I'm definitely interested in looking at these questions and giving my answers to them. Okay, so let's just go straight to it. I've got my questions in hand. So the very first question says, adaptation snob. Do you always read the book before you see the movie? Well, this is a very tricky question, because sometimes I do read the book first and sometimes I do watch the movie first. Case in point, I did watch the To All the Boys I've Loved Before movie before I read the book. In fact, it was because of the movie that I absolutely decided to get all the books in the series so I can read it. Of course, I do have plans to finish book 2 and 3 before the second movie comes out, so that I can watch that and correct things. Another movie I watched first before I read the book was Crazy Rich Asians. I have watched the movie. I still haven't read the book yet, but I do have plans to finish all the books in the series before the second movie comes out. And then I also watched the first Harry Potter movie first before I read the book. In fact, I had no idea about Harry Potter. I had a friend whose dad bought the DVD, and when we watched it, I was like, oh my god, this is so good, where's the next movie? And she's like, oh, this is the first movie, but it is based off of a book and the books are out. And I bought all the books that had been released up to that point and I devoured them, and then I started waiting for each of the books and each of the movies to come out. So, but in an ideal world, I would rather read the book first. I think that it gives me a better understanding of the world, and I think that seeing the movie first in a way does spoil the book slightly for me. And if the movie adaptation is really, really terrible, that can sometimes prevent me from reading the book, and I do not want that to ever happen, because we all know that sometimes the adaptation of a series, the adaptation of a book is not done so well, and it does a great disservice to the book it's based off of, especially if the books is really good. Speaking of books that are really good and adaptations that are also good, The Haunting of Hill House. That's the reason why I still haven't watched that show yet. I want to read the book first. It was also the reason why for a long time I didn't watch Bird Box, but then I eventually caved and watched it, but I still have plans to read the book. Okay, so the next question says, format snob. You can only choose one format in which to read books for the rest of your life. Which one do you choose? Physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks? Now, I think it depends on where what stage I'm at in my life at that point in time, because I do know that younger me really, really loved physical books, but that was all that was available then, so I read a lot of physical books. Then by the time I entered uni, and ebooks were more of a thing, and I was only reading ebooks. Like, I barely read any physical books. I always loved ebooks. I love the fact that they could easily, be found in my iPad. I could carry as much of them everywhere I wanted to. I still have a weakness for ebooks for that. And then when I grew older and I started working and I started getting stuck in a lot of commute, I moved to audiobooks because it was easier for me to take in those stories while on the go. But if I was to choose only one format, I absolutely will go with physical book. There is nothing as satisfying for me as holding a book in my hands and just flipping through the pages. There's that new book smell, there's the old book smell, there's the used book smell, there's this book has been in a family for generations smell. I love holding books, smelling them, touching them, flipping through them, reading them. So yes, I think my weakness will still be physical books. The next question says, ship snob. Would you date or marry a non-reader? I am sorry, this is where my snobby side will come out in all its glory. The answer to that is no. I did date a non-reader for a short period of time. It was hard. It brings me certain joy to be able to talk books with somebody, especially someone that I am that close with. It just brings me that satisfaction. We don't necessarily have to read the same genre. In fact, I would even love it if we did not read the same genre, because then it means that every time I want to diverse and move on to a new genre, I can always turn to this person who knows me and loves me and can recommend books that I would enjoy. So yes, I am a big snob. I've find it so hard. In fact, when I meet someone for the first time, one of the first questions I do ask is, okay, so do you read? What are some of your favorite books? Who are some of your favorite authors? And the last time someone told me that, oh yes, I read magazines, I was like a hard pass, and that was the end of that date. So yeah, definitely a snob with regards to that. Sorry, not sorry. The next question says, genre snob. You have to ditch one genre, never to be read again for the rest of your life. Which one do you ditch? This is hard because your girl is a genre slut. I move about different genres. I love them. Because each genre works for me during a particular time. You know, there are some times when I'm totally into fantasy. There are some times when I only read contemporary. There are some times when I'm really into sci-fi, into thrillers. But if I was to choose one genre never to read again in my life, I would go with horror, because horror is my least favorite. Maybe because I'm still chicken shit and everything scares me. So this is me cheating because I'm dropping the genre that, you know, is my least favorite and that always terrifies me. So I think I'll go with horror. But other than that, like, I'm reading every other damn thing. So the next question says, Uber genre snob. You can only choose to read from one genre for the rest of your life. Which genre do you choose? I think the answer to that is pretty clear cut. I am going to go with fantasy. High fantasy, urban fantasy, mid-grade fantasy, low fantasy, epic fantasy, adult fantasy, YA fantasy, middle grade fantasy. I don't give a shit. Just give me fantasy in all its various forms, because I have a weakness for fantasy. Like, I love a lot of genres. A lot of genres are my favorite, but my absolute top-notch all-time favorite would always be fantasy. So that is going to be my answer. If I was to read only one genre for the rest of my life, fantasy. The next question says, community snob. Which genre do you think receives the most snobbery from the bookish community? I think I'm going to go with erotica. I think that even with romance, right, the bookish community is not as snobbish towards romance, because if it's contemporary and sweet and awesome and all of that, they still love it. But the minute you start talking erotica, the minute you start going smart, the go-to complaint is always that, oh, it's just smart, it's just sex, there's really nothing to be learned from that. And I always find that so annoying, because one, there is absolutely no book that you cannot learn something from, even if it has to do with sex moves and like different sexual positions that you might just want to try. You never can know what works for you if you don't try it anyway. At least that's what I think. But yeah, I think that is one genre that a lot of people in the bookish community shit on. The minute you go into erotica, there's always this preconceived notion that it's all about sex. There's really nothing to learn from it. It's just blah, it's just blaze. They always have this whole expression like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Like, sex is human. Sex is like, erotica is not as bad as a lot of people make it seem. And even if it is that a book only has sex from page 1 to page 20, and that rarely happens, but even if it is that a book has only sex from the beginning to the very end, it still does not mean that it should deserve all that vitriol that a lot of people hip at it. And trust me, people in the bookish community, they are very snobbish about erotica, like a lot. Okay, so the last question says, snobbery recipient. Have you ever been snubbed for something that you have been reading, or for reading in general? I think for that it was during the National Youth Service Corps. There's this thing in Nigeria where all graduates, the minute we finish university, we have to spend a year in a state separate from our state of origin, serving our motherland. And oh my god, so one of my friends then that met during NYC camp, and I was teaching at that point, because that year they practically forced all of us to teach, and I was teaching, and she was like, oh my god, because she just traveled to the States, and that was when 50 Shades of Grey just came out. And she just traveled to the States, and she was like, oh my god, blah blah blah, I love this, you would love this too. And then she just gave me all the 3 books and was like, read it, Noria, you would really, really enjoy it. So I read it. I didn't enjoy it as much as she did. She's a big fan of the series. I didn't enjoy it as much as she did. I am the kind of person that I read every single place I go to. And I remember that day I was in a bus. I was on my way to work, aka the school I was teaching at, and someone caught a glimpse, like a couple of people on, like, across from me on the bus, caught a glimpse of the book I was reading, and the look of disgust that came on their faces. And the slight shift and the side eyes and the and the occasional murmurs of, oh my god, what is she reading, blah blah blah, that really pissed me off. Because sure, I was not a fan of the book, but one, you have absolutely no right to react to anybody that way because of what they are reading, because I repeat, it's what they are reading. And two, I think it's still connected to, you know, what I said about society's abhorrence and dislike for all things erotica, because I did get, for the first time in my life, I felt ridiculed for my reading choice. Not like I gave a shit, because I don't give a shit. I can enjoy what I want to enjoy. Nobody has any right to judge me for it. But for that moment, I did feel what it must have felt like for a lot of people to be judged based on what they read, and it did not feel good. And to make matters worse, all I was just thinking is that, like, personally, I could brush it off because I don't give a shit what people's opinions / thoughts are about my reading choices. It's nobody's business. But I could just imagine somebody else who is not as comfortable in their reading choices and what they would have felt like if that had been the expression. And now I could totally understand why there were people that legitimately would put erotic books in between like other serious books to give that air of, oh, I'm reading something else. And the fact that there are people that have to do that because society likes to judge us based on, you know, what we read just gets to me. And getting a taste of that, it really grated. But I made sure I read that book, and I made sure I gave that smirk. You know, there's a smirk you give when you're reading a very, very sexy, smutty ass scene where people are really going at it in the pages of a book and they're fucking hard. Yeah, I gave that smirk. I gave that smirk, and I looked at the people that were looking at me odd, and I gave them the old, would you like to read? Yeah. They turned and minded their business pretty damn quickly. That was very satisfying. So yeah, those are the questions for the Book Snob tag. I really enjoyed it. A big thank you once again to Katie for tagging me. It was so much fun. I loved it. I'm going to leave the people I'm tagging down in the description bar below. Please do the tag if you want to. Ask me on Twitter if you've done it, because I want to see your answers. And even if I don't tag you and you still want to do the tag, please go ahead and do it and tell everybody that I tagged you. I don't mind. I want to see your answers. Just let me know. Just ask me when you've done the video. So yes, that is yet another tag video. I had a lot of fun doing it. If you like this video, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos. Subscribe if you want to. I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.
My strange addiction, my doctors can't explain my symptoms or my